Welcome back to beyoungministry.blogspot.com, to another blog out of the Gospel according to John. Welcome to those who access the podcast through the Be Young Ministry YouTube channel. Today we're in John chapter 21, verses 15 through 17, which reads, "When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?' 'Yes, Lord,' he said. 'You know that I love you.' Jesus said, 'Feed my lambs.' Again Jesus said, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me?' He answered, 'Yes, Lord, you know that I love you.' Jesus said, 'Take care of my sheep.' The third time he said to him, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me?' Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, 'Do you love me?' He said, 'Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you.' Jesus said, 'Feed my sheep.' That's John chapter 21, verses 15 through 17. Today's text parallels the scene of Peter's three-time denial of the Lord Jesus. Several denials, or details, of it, are common to both accounts. Both took place beside a charcoal fire. Both refer to Peter as Simon Peter. Both involve a threefold statement. 3 times Peter denied his Lord, and 3 times he was asked to affirm his love for the Lord Jesus. In this exchange between the Lord Jesus and Peter about love, there are 2 words used for love: agape, which is unconditional love, and phileo, which is brotherly love. Phileo is the word Peter uses on all 3 occasions, whereas agape is used of the Lord Jesus the first 2 times. Then the third he uses phileo. In the middle of verse 15, the Lord Jesus asks, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?' Before he denied the Lord Jesus, Simon Peter had said he loved Jesus more than the other disciples. At the end of verse 15, Peter responds, 'Yes, Lord, you know that I love you.' Peter makes no mention of the other disciples this time. He is now not involved in the comparison game like he was before he had denied knowing the Lord Jesus, and he had made the statement that he loved the Lord more than the other disciples. Peter is not involved in the comparison game, which is the robber of joy. In addition, Peter has learned to read the Lord Jesus' mind better. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he felt his love for Jesus required that he attack the enemies of the Lord Jesus. But here, he learns that he is responsible to feed the sheep. This is the primary work of the shepherd. The Lord Jesus says to Peter, 'Feed my lambs, take care of my sheep.' Feed my sheep, meaning do not wait for them to grow up. Teach them from the Word what life is all about. Watch over them, guard them, anticipate the coming dangers. Warn them. The primary way this is done is by opening minds to the thought of God and His way of thinking. Mankind does not naturally think the thoughts of God. We do not look at life the way God sees it, but we blindly follow after the illusions of our natural inclination, which is the flesh, or the world's way of looking at things. We all love Peter because he's just like us. He has all the failures that we are all so familiar with in our own lives. He underestimates himself. He underestimates temptation. Did I say he underestimates it? He overestimates himself, and he underestimates temptation. He thinks he's more than he is. He thinks he loves the Lord more than he does or anyone else. He thinks he can face any trial triumphantly. By the time he gets to this point, even though he has seen the risen Lord Jesus, he is really a broken man. And that's good. This is how the Lord Jesus forges his love into the life of the believer. His love is powerful. It is so powerful it draws out the best in us. It is what makes us sacrifice everything for the benefit of others. In John chapter 15 and verse 13, the Lord Jesus said, "Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down his life for his friends." When we move love into the spiritual dimension, it causes us to serve the Lord in extreme ways. But his life-changing love must first be forged deeply into our souls for this to happen. We must be the ones who go out like Peter and weep bitterly. The third time he denied knowing the Lord, that's what he did that night on which the Lord Jesus was betrayed. In our text, the Lord Jesus asked Peter one question: "Do you love me?" He asked this question 3 times. The first time, the Lord Jesus actually asked Peter, "Do you agape me?" or "Do you love me unconditionally? Are you willing to die for me?" To this question, Peter responds honestly, "Lord, you know I phileo you. You know I love you like a brother." Peter does not say, "Lord, I agape you," for he knows he has failed miserably in that arena. The second time the Lord Jesus asked Peter this question, it is asked and answered in the same way as the first. But the third time the Lord Jesus asks Peter this question, he asks, "Peter, do you phileo me?" Or, "Peter, do you love me like a brother?" And as the passage tells us, this hurt Peter deeply because the Lord Jesus questioned what Peter knew to be true. Peter loved the Lord Jesus like a brother. It is one thing for the Lord Jesus to question Peter's agape love, but it is another for him to question his phileo love. You've learned the old saying, "Sometimes you must be cruel to be kind." I think that Shakespearean saying is appropriate here. Sometimes God has to either hurt us or allow us to be hurt in order for us to get the deeper lessons that we must experience in life in order to be useful at ministering to people. This, I believe, is our highest calling: ministering to people. Often the love we need most is the love we want least. Can I say that again? Often the love we need most is the love we want least. This love feels so harsh, so blunt, so unpleasant in the moment that we often don't even recognize it as love. In Hebrews chapter 12, verses 5 and 6, we read, "And have you completely forgotten this word of encouragement that addresses you as a father addresses his son? It says, 'My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son.'" The word discipline can also be translated trained. When God is disciplining or training us in his ways, we think that we have done something wrong, and although this may be the case, God disciplines us or trains us in his ways because we do not naturally walk in his ways. Sometimes the Lord's love for us feels like the opposite of love, but that's only because we can't see everything he sees. Behind the real pain, he allows is an even more real love for those who know Him. And it renders a love in us for others that is agape. Finally, history teaches us that the Apostle Peter died upside down on a Roman cross. I believe this is evidence that we can get to the place where we can be the forwarders of agape. My friends, I trust this podcast is helpful to you in your walk with the Lord, this blog. If I can be of further assistance to you, shoot me an email at beyoungministry@gmail.com. Hey, have a great day.